Hey, yes. Okay, look. Welcome back. Before I forget, let me pin in Facebook what we're going to be talking about today. This phrasing is near and dear to my heart. Today's topic is called, today's topic title is called Consider the Source. And we're going to be talking about feedback. But you know how we do. We always start with a little chitter chatter. So, first of all, do you enjoy this? Wait, what's happening? Look at this big bow. It is huge. Do you enjoy it? Do you listen? I feel like Christopher Columbus. What was that era? What was that time frame? That way I don't just totally give him credit, right? I'm not worried about Christopher Columbus. But, you know, what was that time frame? I should have looked it up, but I didn't have time. I feel like today was a race against the clock because the little baby would not go down for her nap. And, I try to start preparing because, I know I'm going to go live every day. So I try to start prepping in advance. And I couldn't really do that today because I had a training, and then I had an interview session because I'm interviewing a bunch of corporate hustlers over the next, 3-4 weeks. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, or if you're watching the replay on Facebook, or even Instagram, and you are a corporate hustler, specifically a go-getter and very ambitious, DM me so that I can interview you too. It's very short, takes about 10 minutes, and I'm just asking you a couple questions around your career, like your experiences and things like that. I'd love to chat with you if you are a goal-getter and you're ambitious, which, if you're watching this video, you must be, right? Right? I can assume. They say you shouldn't, but I feel like if you're watching this video, I can assume that you're a go-getter. Who do we have? Hey, let me call you by your Uncle Black Bane, right? Because I know who you are, but I like to call people by their handles. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. So excited to have you here today. You all know how we do. I get all close to the screen because I'm not wearing my spectacles. Thanks for joining, Carmen. Hi, Eric. Thank you all for tuning in. We do a little chitter chat as we get folks into the mix. And as promised, I don't know if I'll always get my poop in a group right, but I always have all these ideas of what we could be chitter chattering about. And then I come on here and all of it falls out of my brain. So I wanted to talk about the little baby, right? Because she was strumming my pain today because she wouldn't go down for her nap. And today is going to be hair wash day for her. Listen, if you think I have a lot of hair, the little baby puts me to shame, okay? She has enough hair for 2 grown women. So hair wash day then becomes an experience. That's why I've got these big sleeves. I told you, I feel like Christopher Columbus. And since you all are here, what era is that, right? Because I don't want to give Chris all the credit. That was like everyone looked like him, right? Ben Franklin, George Washington, all of them kind of had like this swag, right? With those wigs and things. What era? What era is it? Who are my history buffs? I love history, but I'm more of like a World War II, that time, maybe the Renaissance, that time frame. Okay, so today's hair wash day, so I'm like mentally prepping, but I feel like my hair is living its best life. So I facilitate an entrepreneurial accelerator on Tuesday evenings, which I've told you guys about before. And one of the participants, everybody's of course an entrepreneur and doing big things. And so she has these natural hair products. And I'm so excited because she's putting together like the minis so that you can try and see if your hair loves it. And I, for one, can't wait to try because my hair doesn't listen to me. And that was part of what I wanted to talk about during the chitter chat because my hairstylist promised me my hair would listen. And I feel I don't know, I feel like my hair doesn't listen, but nevertheless, she will persist. What I have done is I've ordered some hair off of Amazon. Y'all gonna have to work with me, right? So I know how to twist. We gonna do some quarantine twists up in this piece. I know how to twist. I know how to do hair. So, I know how to do makeup. I know how to get dressed. So that part of quarantine isn't that bad. The part that's really killing my vibe is the other stuff, like these nails. I had to do it really quick so that no one would focus. So that part is the part that's kind of, not being able to get a pedicure. I don't know about other ladies, but trying to paint your own toes is like yoga for advanced folks. I feel like it leaves you a little breathless. So I'm not super excited about these elements. But, the hair, the makeup, the clothes, I feel like I can manage that part. All right. So, chitter chat time done. Where are we? Let's go ahead and jump into our topic today. Consider the source. This topic is near and dear to my heart because of a very specific experience I had years ago. So as you all know, I am, a corporate hustler who has since exited to help other corporate hustlers. But I built my corporate career over a 15-year stint over 4 different organizations and multiple promotions, lateral moves. This corporate thing is not just like this up and down ladder, right? It's a jungle gym. So you're all over the place, really trying to curate this career experience. And so I've had so many different experiences, and that's why I can come on here every day, literally, and just not run out of stuff to say. So let's jump in. Who am I? Especially if I've meandered into your feed and someone has shared this video with you. I'm Dorothy Enriquez. I am the principal and founder of a boutique learning and leadership development firm called The Communication Strategist. I help ordinary people become remarkable leaders. Ordinary people like me, ordinary people like you, step into their leadership powerfully, step into their leadership in a more congruent way, step into their leadership in a more flexible way. Because here's the thing, look, I don't care what anybody says. What do we want to do? We want to make more money. How do we want to do it? All sorts of ways. But what underpins all of it? Leadership. Okay? Leadership underpins all of it because we are required to lead from every single seat we sit in. You're a mom, you still need to lead. You need to lead them kids. Otherwise, they're going to be leading you to a rolling pin to the head if you don't get them together. You work, but you don't, you work at a job, you're an employee, but you don't have any direct reports. You're still a leader. Leadership is influence. And when you sit on those different projects and you sit in those different meetings, you working right now you're volunteering at different organizations because you want to be able to help people. You're still leading. Oh, you're a stay-at-home husband? You're still leading. You have to lead in the household because if your wife is the breadwinner and she's out there working, that means that when she gets home, house should be clean, things should be built, things should be cooked, things should be happening, magic should be happening. You still have to lead from every seat you sit in as a sibling, as as the daughter or son of someone, as the grandparent of someone. We're all required to lead from every seat we sit in. That is why I created this learning and leadership development firm, because leadership underpins all of it. How we show up is the game changer. How we show up is our money maker. So that's my little spiel about me. So jumping into this topic near and dear to my heart, consider the source. So look, everyone always says feedback is a gift. I hear you. But sometimes you've got to consider the source. Where is this feedback coming from? Because there are times in life when all feedback ain't good feedback. Huh? If you can relate to somebody who has given you not feedback, but mean-spirited criticism, drop a hand clap or a thumbs up if this has ever happened to you. I know that I cannot be the only one who has been on the other side of receiving mean-spirited criticism. See, I don't even know if I want to call it feedback. It's mean-spirited criticism. That's exactly what it is. All right. So here's the deal. I think that sometimes we get feedback. See, I see a couple hand claps. I think we've all been there, to be honest. Sometimes we find ourselves on the other side of this mean-spirited criticism, sometimes coming from a peer, but sometimes coming from someone, in the workplace who has some seniority over us, right? So it could be someone on our boss's level, someone on our boss's level, someone from a different department, but, they still have a little bit of seniority over us. And so what do we do when this person comes for us, but we ain't called for them? So quick story, and then I want to offer 3 tips. And these tips actually helped me. And I knew those tips in the moment, but still, getting beaten over the head with mean-spirited feedback or criticism sucks. And so if we're not prepared, honestly, we can handle it pretty badly and then make the situation worse. And then we end up stooping down to that person's level, which is also no good, right? So look, story time. This was, maybe 2015-ish, somewhere around there, maybe 2016. And I had a colleague who was maybe 1 or 2 steps above me, and we had been working together since 2014. An older gentleman who was like kick-ass at what he did, right? And, everyone loved him. And so when I met him working at another location, I was like, man, what job does that dude have? Like, I could really kill it in that job. You know what I'm saying? Like, this would be the dream job. I think all of us have the dream job, dream career. And so watching him be able to literally do training and development full time, that's what he does every day, all day, twice on Sunday. I thought to myself, that could be me. Like, I love training and development. I eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff. I've been doing it for, at that point, like a decade. So if there's a job in this organization where I could do it full time instead of just a portion of the time, and then there's an opportunity to travel, hey, why not? So when the opportunity presented itself for me to transition from my location to, the corporate headquarters, I sort of jumped at it, right? Because that position, I had to move and all this other stuff, and I was like, oh. But I ended up transitioning over to sit in a leadership development department because finally my career had come full circle. Like, I was always meant to be in this space. So finally, working in an organization that was so big that it had an entire department dedicated to the development, the cultivation, and the transformation of leaders was just dope. Because normally, a lot of organizations don't have leadership development, right? Like, even on the call, does your company have leadership development? A lot of times companies have HR, of course, or maybe they have organizational development. And they may or may not have learning and development. But a lot of times they don't have leadership development, and that skill set tends to fall to the wayside. However, any organization that we work in has a ton of leaders, right? So to be in this space, I was jazzed. And to be working alongside the dude who I saw, I was like, dope, this ought to be cool. So needless to say, here's what I have learned along this journey. Sometimes you enter into an organization, you're jazzed, you're excited, you're ready to learn, you're ready to be a go-getter, right? You're ambitious, you're competent, capable. And then the people who are already in there just don't want to open up the circle to you, right? And they're trying to find creative ways, and sometimes not so creative ways, to shut you out. So while I tried to build a relationship with this individual, he was always cordial, but for the most part, he wasn't having it. So, I tried getting creative. I tried finding, things that we might have in common. I tried inviting him to lunch a couple times. Maybe we could just chat. And, he always brought his lunch, and I said, let's just eat in the cafeteria and hang out. But it was always something. Fast forward, a year or two goes by. We have to work together on certain projects, so there's no way to avoid me. But now he's getting ready to retire. And he says that my boss has enlisted him to provide me with feedback. Now, y'all don't know my boss, but I knew my boss. And my boss was the type of person, if she had something to say, listen, she wasn't going to mince words. She's pretty blunt. She's going to just tell you what she has to say. So the fact that she sent someone on her behalf was a little bit of a red flag, right? So I say, that's interesting, but okay, sure. What's the feedback? Feedback helps us grow. This dude has been in this space for, 30 plus years. I'm sure this will be helpful. This is how the session kicks off. Dorothy, you're a good trainer, but you're not great. And you'll never be great unless you do these 3 things. Because it's just, I've been noticing and I've watched you and I've been taking notes on you. Now you tell me if you would be excited about whatever's going to come next, just give me a thumbs up, right? If you would be excited, if that's how somebody kicked off a feedback session with you. If you wouldn't be excited, drop a thumbs down. Listen, for me, this was a thumbs down, right? I could not believe, and he hasn't even told me anything yet, okay? I just was like, what? What is happening? And doing this right before I have a training in less than an hour, and this is the time that you pick. Here's the thing with feedback, right? We have to make sure that it's a good time to deliver the message, and this is not good timing. I have a training in an hour, and here you come with your shim sham. Okay. The 3 things that he said so that I could wrap it up and give you my 3 tips. Number 1, Dorothy, I know that you're not a morning person, but you're going to have to wake up and you're going to have to get to your trainings really, really early if you want to be successful. Otherwise, you will never be great. And so, okay. I get to my trainings early, Dorothy. I'm there an hour, maybe hour and a half prior, just getting ready, troubleshooting, and checking. So I strongly recommend you do the same. Okay. 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 What else? What else is the feedback? I heard you say poop in a group in your last training. And I noticed that you make up words when you speak, and I just feel like it's not relatable and people aren't going to understand you. And in fact, that's kind of a cuss word. Okay, so I should have just said, get your shit together. Okay, and what else? Last but not least, I think that you aren't genuine. And I think you really want to work on that if you want to be great. Can you give an example? Because I've never heard that one before. You know what I mean, Dorothy. Just noodle on it for a little bit. And did my boss have any additional feedback for me? No, I mean, after watching you and taking notes, this is what I've come up with. Okay. Needless to say, let me tell y'all something. Okay? I did not like this experience that I had with this gentleman, but I thought to myself, Dorothy, because you you never know how these things are going to transform and twist and flip and drop it and pop it. You want to be wise and you want to really manage this and you want to manage this, right? Your face, this whole like fix your face, you want to be thoughtful in that, but you especially sometimes want to shut this so that you can open up these. But the thing that I thought to myself in the moment, if I'm going to be like 100 with y'all and keep it honest, the reason why you can't talk to people all crazy like and be all wild in these streets is because you never know how the tables will turn. Ever. So you need to watch whose foot you are putting on whose neck. Right? Whose foot are you putting whose neck are you putting your foot on? And be thoughtful, because you never know how this might turn around. And let me tell y'all, when that turned around, it was good. That's a whole nother discussion though. But it did turn around. Oh yes it did. And I know that I know that I know he took a moment down memory lane and took that long walk to that one day when he told me I would never be great. And then the tables turned and I was the one making the decisions. Be careful. So look, who do we have? Kayla. Hey girl, hey. So 3 tips for this whole concept around this mean-spirited feedback, because we have to consider the source. Because there are instances where people are just talking because they have a mouth to talk and they aren't really trying to help us improve. They're not trying to help us be better. They're not trying to help us transform. They're not trying to help us evolve. They are just coming for us even though we didn't call for them. So number 1, I've got 3 tips. Tip 1, listen first. I'm so glad I listened. Because if I would have popped off, it would have been problematic, okay? Because remember, this is someone who was senior to me, right? It's easy to want to clap back. And let me tell you, the feelings that I had in my chest while this was happening, like if I was light-skinned, I feel like I would have just been completely flush with just anger, irritation, whatever other feelings I had at the time, and just shock, and you're trying to process the craziness that's coming out of someone's mouth and you're just dumbstruck. How do you respond to this, right? It's easy to want to clap back. But the thing about being a leader and leading from the front, listening, especially when you know that a good portion of it is shim-sham, listening takes courage, right? For me to not walk out of dude's office took I wanted to tip over that freaking desk. It took everything in me. But that's the first step, right? Listening. Because while that feedback was 10,000% useless for me, there could have been nuggets in there that would have been really helpful. Kayla, hey girl, hey, the struggle is real, isn't it though? So look. The one thing that I took away, right, was this idea around, and it wasn't really a takeaway. I already know, right? For these training programs where there's a lot of moving parts, of course you need to be there early. But listen, y'all. I do training and development full time for a living. I have certain clients where I arrive half an hour before the training starts because it's already set up. What do I need to be there an hour for? An hour and a half prior. Some of my clients wouldn't even let me in that early. They'd be like, girl, bye. You can get here, you have 15, half an hour, minutes, whatever, before this training starts. Get out of here, scram. So listen first, right? Because there might be something helpful in there. Because of course, naturally, we're gonna wanna clap back. We're gonna wanna defend ourselves. And of course, why wouldn't we? But listening does take courage and there may be some nuggets in there. I need the tables turned story. Listen, that's going to have to be another lot. Listen, them tables did turn. Yes, they did. All right. So tip number two, we have to consider the source. All feedback is not good feedback. Some feedback is just downright mean-spirited criticism. So number 2, we got to ask clarifying questions. I have my notes here, y'all. So I'm trying to be prepared for y'all. All right. So this is another tool that prevents us from going into attack mode. Like I said, when people are coming for us and we didn't call for them, of course we want to light them up. Rightfully so, especially when we know this is not coming from a good place. My goodness. So by asking clarifying questions, this helps us. We can reframe the question and say things like, so what I hear you saying is, or, it's my understanding that, and repackaging it, putting a bow on it, and throwing it back in their lap. And this is sort of our corporate jujitsu polite way of saying, is that what you meant to say? Who are you talking to? But it's wrapped up nicely and hearable for the person so that they can backtrack and back it all the way up. Did he back it up? No, he kept going. But I did ask plenty clarifying questions, right? And I gave examples around why I show up the way that I do in this very corporate position and still show up in training and say things like, it's imperative as leaders that we get our poop in a group. You ain't never lied. Yes, I've said that in trainings. Yes, I've said it in trainings with executives. But the thing is, you have to know your audience, right? Certain executives, I would never say that. Other executives, I know that it's okay. But we have to be thoughtful. We have to know our audience, and then we have to expand and contract. That's what leadership is about, right? And then making these decisions. And if we're making a choice and we realize that wasn't right, make a new choice. But to just say, oh, you just can't use these made up words or you can't use slang. Listen, I speak pretty darn well. So I think everyone will be okay. And I think they will heal. I think it adds a little pizzazz and personality. And let's be honest, when most people are getting sent to training, they don't want to go. You know why? Because most folks are really boring and unexciting. So I want to change the game. I don't want it to just be, training as usual. I want it to be edutainment, right? Educating and entertaining. Shoulder blow. Okay, so try reframing what you're hearing to see if the person's going to reposition what they're saying, because there could be some nuggets in there. And we want to do this to help this person who's doing a crummy job, help them understand that feedback has to be hearable and it has to be actionable. If I'm just coming for you for the sake of coming for you, what are you really going to get out of that? You're not going to do anything other than get pissed off. And it's not going to elicit the change that we want to see. We have to think about our motivation, right? Before we just start throwing things at people and dropping things in their lap. Because if we are really wanting them to adjust and do something different, they have to be able to hear that feedback. And part of making feedback hearable and actionable is delivering it at a time that is opportune for both of you. Him delivering this right before I was going to training was a terrible idea. Terrible. What do we have in these chats as I put on these spectacles? We lost you. You did? Where am I? Are we still? You lost me. Look, as I try to get this together. So I don't know what's happening on this Instagram magic. Hold that thought, y'all. I dropped my paper. All right, so let's see. Hopefully you don't lose me, Kayla. Okay, so look, as I've got these spectacles going. Last point as we get ready to wrap up. Talk with someone who you know will give you the real. So this is the last thing that I did during that experience. And I talked to a couple someones who I knew would give me the real. Yes, for Christopher Columbus Blouse, listening does take courage because I want to slap people. Listen, the struggle is real in these streets. Corporate jujitsu. So, last but not least, talk to someone who's going to give you the real. So perspective tends to come with hindsight, right? You know, we always say hindsight is 2020. If I had known then what I know now, et cetera, et cetera. But what can help speed this process up is pulling in that third person, right? And so when we pull in the third person, they can tell us what's real and what's really real, right? So this third person can give us perspective, and it can be a game changer because they're not in it. So they can see it from a whole new lens and a whole new vantage point because they're not having the they're not having the heart palpitations that we're having because of what just happened to us. And this person that we're choosing to share this with, hopefully, you know, we're picking people that have our best interests at heart to say, you know, that's a lie, you know, or that's such a mean way to say it. You know, should you arrive to trainings earlier? Yeah, get there sooner, make the magic happen. Or, you know, you always get there way before your students do. It's fine. If you want to get there a couple more minutes earlier to just get your Zen on, then do that. But this person will be able to help you parse through the stuff that's crap, and you can leave that stuff on the floor and then pick up and unpack the nuggets if there are any. And at the very least, what this person can do, honestly, is just rub your shoulder, right? Because it is human to be hurt after something like that. Boy, did that hurt my freaking feelings. Even though I just was like, this doesn't make any sense, but it still hurt my feelings because it's human to just have a response and have a reaction. I'd be a robot if I felt nothing. But this was someone who, you know, everyone looks up to, everyone thinks is amazing and just so kind. And in this moment, did something that just didn't align with how we all perceive this individual. And it was so out of whack because at the end of that, when I finished my training and had a day or two to process, I literally went into my boss's office like, I got your message. He told me the feedback you had for me. And we had a conversation, and that is when she told me, Dorothy, not all feedback is good feedback, and sometimes you need to consider the source. So, having said that, when someone comes for you and you didn't call for them, 3 tips, right? Listen first. This helps us to not clap back. Step 2, ask clarifying questions. It gives people an opportunity to walk it back, or back on up, or, you know, whatever, and reframe if they really do have some nuggets and gems for you. Because in those instances, feedback is truly a gift. And then enlisting the help of someone else, that third person or third persons, like I did. I talked to, you know, 3 or 4 people about the situation. And then I ended up talking to my boss about it, right? Because I needed to understand what in Sam Hill just happened, right? So that we can figure out what our next steps are going to be as we continue to get better, we continue to push ourselves, and we continue to improve. So those are my 3 tips for consider the source. All right, so as we wrap up, if you enjoyed this video, and I know you did, please share with a friend. If there were some tips in here that spoke to you and you want your friend to know these tips too, go ahead and share with a friend. If you are technologically challenged like I am and you don't know how to press the little airplane on Instagram or the share button on Facebook, or it's just too complicated, just take a picture and drop it in your feed or drop it in your stories and say, hey, I listened to this and this was great. You should listen too. I'll post for you. See, easy breezy, right? So look, I know that you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing with a friend. But I want you to do something else. I want you to jump into the link or jump into the bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just in case, if there are any, if there's ever a time where you're like, dang, I really enjoy watching her, but sometimes I miss them, sometimes I take a break off of social media, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the link, it's called TCS TV, and then, go ahead and click the little bell, subscribe, and never miss a notification. The best Facebook and IG lives, mosey on over to YouTube to live and make magic. And yeah. And last but not least, of course, sign up for the free newsletter. Click the link in the bio. Become a corporate hustler. You got this. And I'm here to help you not just survive corporate, but to thrive. I am your personal change agent, and I can help. So thank you so much for tuning in. Shoulder rolls for everyone who tuned in, and double shoulder roll for everyone who shared this video. All right, until next time, when the little baby is napping, we will be back here again. I cannot say same bat time, same bat channel, because it just depends on the little baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Dorothy Enriquez, principal and founder of The Communication Strategist, a learning and leadership development firm that helps ordinary people become remarkable leaders. All right, ta-ta for now. All right, you get the last shoulder roll, the last dance, the last shoulder roll, the last dance. Until tomorrow, y'all. Enjoy this Christopher Columbus magic that I have for you. Right? Just out here with this big giant bow. Yes.